Hi, Pagan Shooter here. The other day I went and took you guys to the range with me, and I brought the 1911. Let me go ahead and show you that this is empty and completely empty. The only two magazines I have are sitting right here, and they are 100% empty. So there was a couple things I noticed when I did go to the range with this. Now, it is an accurate gun. I haven't shot it very much since the last time I shot it. And the reason for it was having a little bit of problem with feeding. I thought that might have been something with the wear-in point of the gun. I also had another problem that I'll get into in a minute. The feeding issue I had was failure to feed. It wasn't anything with stovepipes or ejecting the rounds. It was actually failures to feed. And what I found, and I'll throw some clips in here of me shooting, and so you can see what I had gone through. I did plan to do this video actually last week. However, the problem was I was going to try something new I hadn't done before, voiceovers, and I just really couldn't get it right or even close to my liking. So I decided to kind of proceed with this way, and then I'll just try later on with the voiceovers, or continue trying with the voiceover. So eventually you might get one. But anyway, so I brought this to the range, and I noticed that I was having the failures to feed again. Now, the last time I shot it, I did not have the aftermarket magazine. I only had the factory magazine, which is this one, and I noticed a couple things where the factory magazine actually was the one that was jamming. It was the one having the problem with the failures to feed. This is the, as you can tell, there is a difference too. The follower on the factory magazine is plastic. The follower on the aftermarket is metal. The factory magazine is a little bit longer and holds 8 rounds. The aftermarket is a little shorter, only holds 7 rounds. The aftermarket fits flush with the bottom of the pistol grip, and it falls pretty close to free pretty easily. The factory magazine hangs down a little bit, which I'm not as happy with, and when you push, it doesn't really fall free. It kind of hangs a little bit. The coating on the outside of these, as you can see, they're a bit different. The aftermarket is a little more of a flat finish, and the factory is more of a gloss finish and seems to stick a little bit. So those are the differences I noticed, and the fact that when I shot this with the aftermarket magazine, I didn't have any jams, I didn't have any failures to feed, even with the self-defense rounds I brought, which I brought about 15 of those and about 150 ball ammo, which was the Federal aluminum. When I shot with the aftermarket magazine, I didn't have any problem at all. When I shot with a factory magazine, almost every magazine I had failures to feed. I had problems with it not feeding the round properly. So I have a feeling it's a problem with the factory magazine, the one that holds 8 rounds. However, because I'm not really that happy with the way it fits the gun, and I like the way the aftermarket fits, I'll probably just get replacements instead of worrying about fixing this right now. But that's something I'll worry about later. The other thing I noticed when I took this to the range, which, by the way, it shoots very accurately. It's very nice. I like the grip. The grip is actually quite comfortable. The problem I came into was on the back of the gun. You'll see there is a very small beaver tail. Well, the edge of that beaver tail is very sharp. Also, the hammer comes back, and it comes back very far on the beaver tail, which results in a hammer bite. And I will show you on my hand, you can see there are 2 nice little scars. This one here, closer to my thumb, is actually from the beaver tail. This one back here is actually from the hammer biting into my hand. As the gun kicked back, the slide comes back and it was catching the skin on my hand. So actually when I got home, there was actually blood and skin stuck to the beaver tail and to the hammer spur on this gun. It made it very uncomfortable to shoot, very difficult to shoot, so I'm probably going to end up having to replace the beaver tail so I can get my proper purchase on the gun, my proper hold on the gun high enough so the bore axis is smooth. And I'm probably going to have to replace the hammer so it's one of the rounded back hammers. While I'm at it, I'll more than likely go ahead and have a trigger job done, because if you see, there is a little bit of take up, pushing that, a little bit of take up in that, and there's a little creep there. And for most guns, you wouldn't say really anything, but for a 1911, you want that not to really have any creep there, and you want it to basically go until it's just a clean break. And this one does have a pretty clean break. It could be smoother, but the creep on the trigger is just a little more than I would like. Normally, because this is just range candy for me, I would just let it go. But because I'm probably going to have to do the beaver tail to make this more comfortable to shoot, and the hammer, I might as well just have the trigger job done as well. So I'm probably going to save to have that done. That's not going to be something right away. And you probably won't see me shooting this very often because of this. I did find that I did have to kind of find my aim point again on this one. Because the sights are pretty minimal, it was a difficult find. But it's an enjoyable gun to shoot, except for that. Except for the beaver tail and the hammer bite. When you start shooting it and you've got a good grip on it, good feeling that you are mitigating the recoil from the gun and the round by your grip, and it's really an enjoyable gun to shoot because of that. My only problems are the discomfort from shooting it and it causing damage to my hand. So how many of you own a 1911 that you've had to replace these parts? Is there any advice you can give me on that? Go ahead and like, share, subscribe. Go ahead and leave me a comment. Let me know if you have any advice about the trigger, about the hammer and the beaver tail, and fill me in. This is Pagan Shooter. We'll see you next time.